Hi everyone, today we are going to draw using the pen tool. So go ahead and open Adobe Illustrator and click Create New. At any point in this tutorial, you may pause, you may rewind, or you may pause and go ahead and follow along and then unpause it when you are ready to move on. We are going to be creating a one artboard document, letter size. So under recent, you might have letter. If not, across the top here, click on print, select the letter size, and over here, we're going to change it to inches. We're going to keep the portrait orientation. We're going to make sure our artboard is up and down, and we're going to stick with one artboard. I would generally make you do 6 artboards because we're going to do 6 little practices, but in order to keep it so that you only have to turn one thing in, we're going to separate the artboard ourselves. So just create one artboard and come down here and select Create. The first thing we're going to do is use the pen tool to separate this artboard into 6 sections and then lock that. And that just gives us some room to visually see where we can practice our pen tool. So I'm going to come up here to my rectangle tool and down to line segment tool. This is one way to draw a line. Another one is the pen tool, which you will learn soon. We're going to cut this box or this rectangle, in half. So I'm going to click and drag my line tool all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to do 2 more lines, one here and one here. They do not have to be perfect. All we're using these for is to separate our space. Right now, the fill should be nothing for this line. The stroke should be black. If it's something different, you can delete and try again, or you can change the color of the stroke and switch the fill to nothing. I'm now going to come over here and I'm just going to eyeball it because again, this is just for practice. If you hold down Shift, it will make your line nice and straight. And let go. And I'm going to click and let go. All right, so now we have 6 spaces. We are going to use our selection tool. A shortcut to that, if you take a look on the screen there, is V. So I want you to practice going from line segment tool to the selection tool by clicking V on your keyboard. It's a really easy, super fun way to do a shortcut so you're not doing more work than necessary. Once you have your selection tool, I'm going to select everything on my artboard. So I'm just drawing a box around everything. And I'm going to do Object, Lock, Selection. Now those lines are there and we can't do anything with them, which is perfect because all this is doing is separating our sections for us. Now we're going to use the pen tool. And if you look over here, we have the selection tool. We've got the direct selection tool. We also have the pen tool. So if you take a look next to them, the shortcuts are V. To switch to the direct selection tool, you click A on your keyboard. And to click to the pen tool, you can see you click P on your keyboard. For the purposes of this, let's press and hold down the pen tool. You can see P is next to it. And we're going to draw our first example in this box. Now you do not have to do this, but if you would like to zoom in, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it larger on your screen. So I'm going to come down here and use the zoom tool, or you can see the shortcut is Z on my keyboard. And I'm going to zoom in to my first box. You do not have to do that if you don't want to. And the first thing we're going to do is just learn how to draw straight lines. So now I'm either going to come back up here to my pen tool or press P, which is the shortcut. Okay, I pressed P, I have my pen tool. Now what we're going to do is each time you click, it adds a new anchor point. Remember, anchor points are the points that connect each line or each area. What we're going to do is just click and let go and pull and click and let go. I will do it first and then you guys can go ahead and practice. And what we're going to be doing here is, I'm just going to show you click, 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 click. All I'm doing is clicking and letting go. I'm not clicking and dragging. So I'm going to go Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and we are going to do a crown shape. So now that I have my pen tool selected, I'm going to click and go ahead and draw a crown shape. All I'm doing is clicking, moving my mouse, and clicking again. Now what you'll notice here is at the very end, the pen is still connected to that last anchor point. In order to get it to not be connected any longer, you can go to Select and Deselect. So up top, select, deselect, or Shift Control A. I'm not sure if you can remember that. That's not super easy to remember. So deselect, and it has deselected everything on the artboard. I still have my pen tool. So what I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and grab our direct selection tool, or click V on your keyboard, and let's see what we've got here. Now, if we select it, we have a line. It has no fill, and the stroke is black. If your stroke is a different color, that is absolutely fine. If you were to fill it though by accident, or if you had the fill on, yours might look something like this, or it might look a little more awkward if these lines weren't lined up. Not a big deal if you do that, but for the purposes of just practicing lines, we don't really need to worry about color yet. So I'm going to Control Z, and we're just going to leave that as an open line. I will show you how to close it off as a shape a little bit later. So again, if you select it with the selection tool, it selects the whole thing. If we move up here to the direct selection tool, which we said was A, shortcut A on the keyboard, now I see my anchor points. And you can mess around with the anchor points if you'd like by clicking off of the object, clicking on one anchor point, and noticing that that one is the only one that is selected by being filled in with blue. And I can move that anchor point around. So now if you'd like to fix up your crown or straighten it up, you can. Again, it's just practice. I'm going to move this guy over a little bit. I'm going to move this guy over a little bit. And you can see how you can do one thing at a time. Another thing you can do is you can see these widgets here. The widgets allow you to curve an angle. I'll do that again. I'm going to Control Z. Here's the anchor point. Here's the widget, which is the circle. And you can see what happens to the direct selection tool. It has a little curve behind it, and you can grab it and curve. I'm going to Control Z or undo. And I'm going to click off of that shape, and we're going to leave that in our first box. I'm now going to move over here to my second area. And for this area, I'm going to be creating kind of like, it's going to look like a house or an arrow pointing up. I'm going to teach you how to use Shift to form a straight line, and potentially a 45-degree angle if in case you needed that. So let's go ahead and go back to the pen tool. Make sure you have the stroke is a color, doesn't matter what color to me, and there is no fill. And the pen tool is over here, or you can click P on your keyboard. And we're going to start down here, so just watch me do it first, and then you can pause and go ahead. I'm going to create a arrow shape pointing up, or a house shape perhaps. Something like that with some straight lines, but also with some angles. So I'm going to click and pull up. Now you can see as I pull, not really pull up, I'm sorry, click and just drag up. I let go of my mouse, I clicked once, I dragged up. And you can see I can make my line go any way. If I hold Shift, the line stays at a straight angle, which is perfect for what we want to do here. So I'm holding down Shift, I'm going to click, I'm going to let go of Shift, and then you can see the same thing here. I didn't pull, I just clicked. Now if I hold Shift again and I'm somewhere around this angle or facing to the left, which would create a right angle here, you can see it straightens up. So if I let it go, if I hold Shift, Shift makes it nice in a straight line, which is very important when you're going to make a shape where you want the angles to be just so. So I'm going to hold down Shift and click again. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm not going to hold Shift. Again, you can see I can make this any angle I want. If I do hold shift, it gives me the angle at a 45-degree angle. If I move my mouse here and hold shift, it gives me this angle. If I hold down shift closer to this way, it gives me another 45-degree angle. So I'm going to hold down shift again, click somewhere up here. Again, if yours is not exactly like mine, I'm going to come down here. And if I hold down shift, again, it gives me that 45-degree angle. Let's see if I can eyeball it to be about as long as the other one. I'm going to click. I'm going to hold down shift again, click. And then as I go down, now I'm going to hold down shift one last time. So that way, and I'm going to come up here and do select, deselect. That way I've created straight lines or 45-degree angles by using the shift key on your keyboard. What I'm going to do now is we're going to come down here. Let me grab this. We're going to come down to our third section, and we are going to create a curve. For this, we're not just going to click and let go. We're actually going to click and hold down the mouse. Now that we're down in this third section, we are going to learn how to do some curves. So go ahead, if you don't already have the pen tool, grab that with a quick click of your keyboard P, or come to the toolbar and grab it. And what I want you to do is, for this one, we're going to be dragging and pulling so that you create anchor points that have handles on them. So if you watch me do it first, we learned just clicking gives us lines like that, but clicking and dragging allows us to create curved lines. And it creates these lines with these handles. You can see the handles are attached to the anchor point. And what they do is, if now I did select, deselect, I'm going to select the direct selection tool. And if I select one of the anchor points, I can adjust the direction and the height of it by messing with not the anchor point, but the handles that are attached to that anchor point. So I'm going to delete that shape, or you can undo. I'm just going to select it up here with my selection tool and click delete. I'm going to go back to my pen tool or P. And the first thing we're going to do is, you can watch me do it first and then you can pause it. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag up. So we're going to make a curve like a rainbow form. So I'm going to click and drag up and then let go once you believe it's straight. And you can see now what the pen tool does, it allows you to just continue drawing. So because we have handles, the line is not straight like it was when we just clicked, the line is now curved. So we're going to come over here, kind of eyeball straight across from that anchor point somewhere. You can see sometimes the purple line or the adjustment tools will show up. You can click and we're going to pull down. So for the first one we pulled up, for the second one we pulled down. And then you can do select, deselect, or I will show you another way that I normally do it, because the select, deselect sometimes takes a little too long. Again, I'm going to redo that for you. So I'm going to undo, undo. For the first one, I'm going to click and drag up. I'm going to then try to find kind of an area here. Luckily, the purple mark is helping me out, and I'm going to click and drag down. Then I want my direct selection tool. The direct selection tool, like we just showed you before, allows you to select an anchor point and then also make adjustments with the handles. So instead of doing select, deselect, I'm going to click V for the direct selection tool. I'm sorry, A for the direct selection tool. V is select, A is direct select, P is the pen. And now if I click off of it and click on it, I can adjust my curve. Now this is your first time doing this, so it might not be perfect, but as long as you have somewhat of a rainbow shape or an upside down U shape, that should be just fine. Now we're going to do a U shape or a smile. It's going to be the same idea, but instead of pulling up and then pulling down, we're going to pull down and then pull up. So you're kind of going the opposite way of what you want to go, or the first line you draw will show you the direction that your curve will be. So when we were here, we pulled up, that way our curve is up. Over here, we're going to pull down and we're going to make a shape that goes like a U or a smile. So I'm going to click P for my pen tool. I'm going to come over here somewhere else in that area on the artboard and I'm going to pull down. And I'm going to click somewhere over here and pull up. And then I'm going to press A for my direct selection tool, and I'm going to adjust this as necessary. So I'm going to move my anchor point up to make it a little more even, and I'm going to adjust my handles. You could make all kinds of different shapes if you wanted. I'm going to Control Z. I'm just trying to make one that is somewhat even and symmetrical. And now we're going to try two to the side, one facing the right, one facing the left, just to get the general idea. So I'm going to click somewhere off of the shape and I'm going to press P to get back to my pen tool. And for this one, I'm going to pull to the right. And then down here, I'm going to pull to the left. And then select, deselect. And then on this next one, I'm going to pull to the left. And I'm going to come down here and pull now to the right, or click and drag. We don't let the mouse key go until we are done with the shape. You can see you could keep going. We're trying to form just very simple symmetrical C or U shapes. And there you go. I'm going to click V for my selection tool, click off of it. And then what you guys can do here is if you don't like one of your shapes or you need to adjust it, you would go up here and use the direct selection tool, or A. That's the one that allows you to switch your bounding boxes. So that is how we create a curve using the pen tool. The next thing we're going to do is move over here to the right side of this little section. I'm zoomed in, so I'm going to slide over. And we are going to do a series of curves. So I'm going to click P on my keyboard for my pen tool, and you can watch me do it first and then you can go ahead and do it. It's very similar to what we did in the last section over here. All we're going to do though is instead of stopping the one shape, we're just going to continue. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start, see this little square section we have, we're going to start more to the left side. We're going to pull up, and then we're going to come over here and pull down. And instead of stopping there and deselecting, we're going to come over here and pull up, and then slide it over here and pull down. Now this is your first time doing this, so as long as it looks, you're getting just the hang of the actual technique, it doesn't matter what your curved line looks like, it doesn't matter if it's even or completely symmetrical. All I'm doing is pulling down, and I'm coming across parallel to it or somewhat parallel to it, and I'm pulling up. So pulling up, pulling down, pulling up, pulling down should give you a curved line. Then what I can do here at the end, if it looks kind of like a mess, it is your first time doing it, that's okay. Click on your A, which is your direct selection tool. That's the white one. Now what you can do is adjust the anchor points if you'd like. Move this guy up. I can try to make them all somewhat even. If I think this one was too high, I can move it down. You can do the same thing to yours if there's something about yours you aren't a fan of or you'd like to adjust. But so for this one, this is how you would create a curved line. The next thing we're going to do is move down to our box, our bottom left box, And we're going to do something similar to that, but instead of one curve going up and the other curve going down, we're going to make the curves kind of go the same area or the same shape or direction. So this is converting smooth points to corner points. This one takes a little more skill, so just pay close attention. We are going to be using, of course, the pen tool, so go ahead and click P. And then we're going to be using the Shift tool to keep our direction handles to 45 degrees. And we're also going to use the Alt key. So make sure you know where the Shift key is in your keyboard, which I'm sure you do. The Alt key from on mine is near the space bar. We're going to be using both of those. So for this one, what we're going to do is I'm going to click and pull, and I'm going to hold down Shift. And you can see what happens. It constrains it to 45-degree angles, right? 45-degree angles. I want mine still to go up and down, and you can see what Shift does as opposed to, and please, you can just wait 1 second, don't do this with me. If I let go of Shift, I can go on any angle I want. But if I hold down Shift, it goes here, here, at 45-degree intervals. So I'm going to hold down Shift, I'm going to let go of the mouse, then let go of Shift. It's the same thing we did up there. It's just a little more technical because it's letting us make those, the anchor point and the handles a perfect angle. What I'm going to do here is also hold down Shift. I haven't clicked anything else yet. I'm going to hold down Shift again, and you can see it kind of snaps where it needs you to go, and it shows you it's lined up with the other anchor point. And I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to drag down, which is what we just did. However, this is a little more technical because we did use the Shift key. I'm going to let go of my mouse and then let go of Shift. So again, it's exactly what we just did. And you can see your shape is probably a little more perfect than the shapes we did when we were not using the Shift key. Now, granted, when we are tracing or drawing something, we don't always need these perfect angles. Most of the time, you won't really need Shift. Some of the time, though, when you are drawing something with exact precision, you might need to hold down the Shift. And again, what that gives you is your 45-degree angles. You can see here, if I'm holding down Shift, it only gives me one option to place. Well, it snaps to a few different options, but it gives me 3 options to place because those are all at 45-degree angles. Now, what I would like to do is I'm going to take my pen tool, and before I click again, I'm going to go over my last anchor point. And before I do anything there, I'm going to hold down the Alt key. Okay, so I'm going to go over my last anchor point. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to click and drag up, and I'm not going to let go yet. You can see I've created now, I've taken the handle away from the bottom, and I'm bringing this handle all the way up to join the other one. And I'm going to let go. What that now does is you can see I now have a curve going in the same direction as the last one, which is much different than what we did above when we were doing one curve up, one curve down. I'm going to do it again for you a few more times, and then you can follow along. You can also rewind because this is a few more steps because there is the Shift and the Alt key involved. So what I'm going to do here is hold down Shift. You can see it snaps there for me. I'm going to click and drag down. And you can see that curve again is much nicer than the one we did previously. I'm going to let go of the mouse key, let go of my Shift, and then I'm going to hold down the Alt key, go over the last anchor point. So I'll say that again. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, go over my last anchor point, and click and drag up to make a handle that joins my other handle. I'm going to do it again a few more times so you can see it. Now I hold down Shift, come down here. I'm still holding down Shift, click and drag down. Now I'm going to let go of my mouse and let go of Shift. Now I'm going to press Alt over the last anchor point I drew. I'm going to click and press up. And let go of your mouse key and then your Alt key. I'm just going to do it 2 more times because it is a harder skill to master. So I'm going to hold down Shift, let it snap where it needs to go at that 45-degree angle, hold down Shift, click and pull down, let go of my mouse key, let go of Shift. Now I'm going to press Alt, click on my last anchor point, and take a handle up. Hold down Shift, click and drag down, let go of my mouse key, let go of Shift, hold down Alt, click on my last anchor point, and bring that handle up to greet the other one. Once you're done, you can do the same thing we've done and make adjustments with your direct selection tool, which is your white arrow or A. So now what I can do here is I see this one's a little higher. I'm going to bring this handle down. I can adjust these over if I needed to, if I thought one was too big or too small, or if I wanted to make one bigger or smaller. And you can see this gives me kind of a scalloped edge. We could do the same thing by dragging the opposite way and create a series of lines going that way. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead to that final space on your artboard that you've separated into 6 sections, and we are going to combine curved lines and straight lines. So once you get to this last area, go ahead and click P for your pen tool. And again, you can watch me do it first, and remember Control Z is our best friend. So if something doesn't work out, Control Z and restart and try again. Sometimes it's just one little mistake or one little thing that ends up happening. So for the first one, I'm going to, we're professionals at curved lines now, right? So I'm going to click and drag down. If you would like to hold Shift to make it nice and even, you may. And I'm going to click and drag up. So I'm going to make a curved line. We all know how to do that now. Now what I want to do to this curved line is make a straight line coming right off of here. Now here's the problem. This line is curved because of this handle. So the way to do that, or to get rid of that handle and to only make a directional handle going down, is to come back here to our anchor point, and when it turns into your pen tool with the convert point icon, which is that little upside down V, you click it and it deletes the directional arrow up. And so now you can see I can easily create a straight line now that I have deleted that directional handle that was going up from the curved line. I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and back to the beginning. So again, the first thing we're going to do is just draw a normal curve like we've learned before. Pull and drag, hold down Shift if you want it to be real perfect. I'm holding down Shift, and I'm going to click and drag up. All right, then I'm going to let go, and I want a straight line here, but we can see that's not happening. So we come back to our anchor point, and you can see it turns into the convert point icon, which is that little upside down V, and we're going to click that, and you can see it deletes that that handle, and now we can draw a straight line. If you want it to be very straight, hold down Shift. Remember, Shift only allows you to draw straight lines or 45-degree angles. If you don't hold down Shift, not a big deal either, but your line might not be exactly straight. For the purposes of this practice, it's not a big deal. So I'm going to hold down Shift. And now I've clicked there. Now what I want to do now is do another curve, but unfortunately, look what's happened. I can only do straight lines now. So if I clicked and tried to do that, it wouldn't quite be the same. So I'm going to undo. And the way we do this is the same thing. We're going to go back to that anchor point, and we are going to drag an anchor point down. And you can see now we can create a curve. If we drag the anchor point up, we could do a curve the opposite way, which I'll do in a second. So now if I wanted another straight line, I'm going to come over here, take that, draw my straight line by holding Shift. And you can see now my only other option is to draw a straight line. But if I now drag up, now that gives me the directional handle to do a curve going up. And if I hold down Shift, it will give me that exact 45-degree angle. And now I can pull down. All we're doing here is whenever we need to go from curved to straight, we can come back here, click on the last anchor point, and then you have the option to switch back and forth. And again, to add one, you go back to the anchor point and you pull either up or down to give you a directional handle. I'm at the end of my artboard, so I'm going to Control Z and undo that and click on my selection tool, which is V. And if that didn't work out or was difficult, you can go ahead and rewind that or see again. You could do one straight line up, straight line. So that's just a way to connect those two together. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to close a shape. So far we have lines. A line has a beginning and an end. A shape is an area enclosed by a line. So I'm going to Control 0 and zoom out for you. This is what my artboard looks like. And I'm going to zoom back in to my crown. The very first thing we did, now that you're almost pen tool professionals. All right, I'm going to select my selection tool, which is V. And I'm going to move my crown down a little bit. I'm going to need some room up here. I'm going to show you two different ways. Up here, I'm going to click my pen tool or P, and I'm going to draw another smaller crown or literally any shape. You can draw any shape you would like. I'm going to show you how to close it off. So you can see right now my pen tool has the little star next to it. And that means I'm a live pen tool here. So I'm going to draw a small crown just by clicking. So we don't have to click and drag or anything like that. Click, click. If that big crown's for like the king or queen, this could be for the prince or princess. I don't know. And click down here. Now that's where we stopped. If we continue on and move over to an open anchor point, you can see, and if you look closely, maybe I need to zoom in a little bit. Let me get back up here. If you see when I click over that anchor point, that first anchor point, it says the word anchor, and it also has an O. And where the star was, you can see a little circle. That shows us we are closing a shape. So if I shift it down, that shape is not closed. I'm going to undo. If I place it on the anchor and you can see the 0 or the O, I'm going to click on it. And now I have created a closed shape. The other thing I can do is now that it's a shape, we can fill it. So if you come over here, let's click on fill, select a color, and you can see the fill fills it completely because it is now a shape. The other thing you can do now that we still have the pen tool, if you accidentally clicked off your pen tool, go ahead and press P, is now that we have a shape, or even this works on a line that you've drawn, if you go onto your line, and I'm going to even zoom in some more for you guys. I just want you to be able to see it. Got my pen tool still. Now you can see it's still got the star. I could start drawing a new shape. I could start drawing a new shape. If I go over an anchor point, any of them, you can see a minus sign. That takes an anchor point away. I'm going to Control Z or undo. The minus sign, if I scroll up here, if I go over an anchor point and see the minus or subtract sign and click that anchor point goes away. I'm going to Control Z or undo. Consequently, you can also, that's subtract. If I go over not an anchor point, but a path, you can see where it says path and has a plus sign. I can add anchor points when I see a plus sign. Obviously, here we go. Now that I'm hovering over it, it's a negative sign, so I can take it away. plus sign adds. So if I wanted to add an anchor point there and add an anchor point there and maybe add one here, they are on my line as long as when I clicked it, it said path and a plus sign. If I see my little star, this is kind of creating a new line or shape. Undo, undo, undo. All right, let's take our selection tool, V, select it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for you guys. Let me zoom back into this area. And actually, I'm going to take my direct selection tool, which is A, or over here, the white one. And now what you can do is, I showed you this before, you can manipulate these anchor points now to be exactly what you would like them to be. All right, and the same thing. The widget, again, is the same idea. It allows you to curve. Whoops. Let me undo that. You have to grab the widget when it has the little curve angle. Oh my goodness. What's wrong with my widget? It's not cooperating. But you guys get the general idea. You don't have to keep it like that. I'm going to undo it. I just wanted you to show you how to close a shape. Finally, I'm going to come down here and show you how to close a line segment that you've already drawn. So if this was your line segment and you were like, well, it's a line, but I want it to be a shape because I want to fill it. Go ahead and grab your pen tool, which is P. Come down here and you can see where it says anchor point and it gives you a slash. That is just showing you that if you accidentally deselect or click off of your path, you can continue drawing on a path with your pen tool just by clicking on another anchor point and seeing the pen tool with that little slash mark. And then now I can continue drawing. I can make it curved to pull, or I can undo, and I can just make it straight across like I showed you above. And once I'm over another anchor point, it says the word anchor, has a little O or 0 or circle under the pen. And once I click, that closes my shape. I'm going to zoom out. Please feel free to rewind or use any other part of this video that you need to go back to clean up any of your 6 sections. And I can't wait to see what you've done.